Yeah.
All right, here we go. We are in week 9. Flying high with the birds. Eagles, Philadelphia Eagles football talk. With us today, we got Vahe, the big B, the Armenian hammer with the 4 Armenian superstars on the wall behind him.
How you doing, guys?
We're good. And Mr. Wilbert B. Sealy, soon to be. Mr. Will and Alyssa Sealy.
Hey guys, what's going on? Everything's good.
Good. Now, my name is Armin. I'm the big V also, Armin Hammer. And I guess I'll have to start out by eating a little crow. Sometimes you got to suck it up. Hold on. Where are we at?
If that's the case, me too. Me too.
No, I guess I'll have to really suck it up today, but it's okay. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. I want to play this first.
I'll tell you my prediction. I predict, number one, that Will's going to be forced to come out here with a bag on his head for the first 5 minutes of next week's broadcast because the Eagles are going to win 33-17. I think, listen to me. I think they're going to be in control from the beginning. I think they're going to ground and pound. I think that Herbert will have his moments. What you guys don't know is that Mike Williams is getting over a knee, and that's part of the reason why he's not playing as hard as he.
All right, enough of that. So I will start off. This is how I should go to work in the morning. So I will start off the podcast this way. And I'll get back to my regular self. I feel a lot better. I feel nice and relaxed now. So anyway, let's get cracking here. Philadelphia Eagles lose to the Los Angeles Chargers 27-24. They now fall to 3-6. Justin Herbert was 31 for 37 for over 300 yards. And on a Chris upset Sunday where there were so many upsets, you figure, oh, this is a 4:00 game. Dallas loses. Things are going to happen. And obviously they just fell flat on their face again. It's the 5th time that an opposing quarterback this year has a quarterback had 80% completions. That has never happened, I think, with this team. And offensively, over 90% of Hurts's completions were just the 2 guys. So that's something we have to talk about today. Dallas Goedert and Devonta Smith basically had all the receptions, except for 1 or 2 by Quez Watkins. Here's an interesting stat. The defensive line didn't even touch Herbert one time. And obviously they had no picks. They didn't touch the football and they didn't touch Herbert. The only guy that touched Herbert was I think it was Steven Nelson on a blitz that actually got called for a personal foul. That was the only hit that was made. Derek, it's always freaking him. Barnett committed another crushing penalty that kept the Chargers drive going in the 4th quarter. The Chargers never punted, and they scored on every single possession in the second half. Let's get started with this, and Will, I'll bring it up to you first. Who is the blame for these defensive performances? Is this problem more scheme or personnel?
It's definitely both. But I want to say it's more scheme. I mean, Jim Schwartz basically had this same defense minus maybe Nelson and, probably a better safety. But this defense is historically bad. And we got to remember, these are still NFL players. They all played at, top colleges. They've had success in this league before. I mean, this is a historically bad defense right now that you're letting average quarterbacks look like Pro Bowlers / Hall of Famers. You got to, Jonathan Gannon, There's no blitzing. There's no stunts. I'm still seeing the safeties 20 yards off the line of scrimmage. Like that whole middle of the field is open. And I mean, we're just getting torn apart and torched week after week. And our defensive linemen are coming out saying that they don't, they're not the coach. They don't call the plays. They just do what they're told. I think a lot of this is scheme, and it falls on Jonathan Gannon, but Sirianni hired him, and that's a whole nother issue.
I had your thoughts.
Yeah, it seems that all the time they're playing prevent defense as if the clock is their friend, and then all they're trying to do is prevent them from making a quick score. But there's no pressure, none whatsoever. The front four, they cannot do nothing. The linebacker is always out of position. The cornerbacks are like playing 10 feet away from the receivers. I don't know what the plan is, honest to God, because the thing is that they can say it's the personnel, but I think it's more the scheme, because the thing is that if let the cornerbacks jam the the receivers, or, the line try to be more, physical, maybe things will be different, but there's nothing. I mean, as if they're going through the motions. It's unbelievable. And I'm really amazed that he still got a job. I'm really, really amazed. He still got a job because the guy is so incompetent. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, a lot of this is fundamentals too. And I'm seeing players, they're not playing with instincts. Like they're playing like they're afraid to make a mistake. And I feel like that also falls on Jonathan Gannon, because he's coaching like he's afraid, to get beat deep or give up the big play. And it's kind of reflecting as a whole, as that whole defensive unit, that they're all kind of playing timid. And when you're playing defense, like you are reacting to the offense, but you got to play aggressive. You got to go whatever stunt you're doing or whoever you're going against, you got to go against them 100%. And they're not playing with instincts right now. They're really just afraid to make mistakes.
The last drive of the game on Sunday, I was hoping that they will give up a quick touchdown so that they get the ball back. At least they can drive down, because they were driving down. They could drive down and tie the game and go to overtime. I was praying that would happen, and yet didn't. I mean, just basically burn the clock, first down, second down, first down again, and so on, and until basically there was no time left. And people were hoping that they would get the ball back because Hurst was playing so well. The offense was playing so well in the second half that they were driving and scoring, but they didn't have a chance because the defense didn't do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with both of you. I think that a lot of it is definitely scheme. But he did change some things. He did play with one high safety on the majority of the plays, and he blitzed more than he has blitzed all year. I think it was 12% of the time. I'm not sure exactly what the number of blitzes was. I don't know if he's got the personnel to do it, but I think if you take that, plus there was no pre-snap disguise, there was no stunts, which is a staple of the Gannon defense, which I can't understand, but they're not getting any pressure. There's no pressure at all coming from the front, from the defensive lineman. I mean, even Josh Sweat, they were saying that he was lined up incorrectly a couple of times. And then you look at Barnett, who's really a waste. To me, Cox is a waste. Not Jernigan, the guy from the Washington team. I keep forgetting his name. Kerrigan is a total waste. They don't have pass rushers. And I'm tired of hearing that Brandon Graham going down is the reason why they're not getting any pressure on the quarterback. Bottom line is the quarterbacks are not getting touched. And if you looked at Herbert out there, every time I looked at a play and then I would back it up, play it again, it was like Herbert was playing two-hand touch, like the steady quarterback and two-hand touch. He was just turning around, throwing a ball. They were way off the receivers, and that's Gannon's fault. They play a very soft coverage, no press coverage. So if you look at it this way, scheme-wise, no press coverage at all that I saw, no stunning. And there is no pre-snap disguise. And I think that is a real problem with Gannon. I don't understand it. So,
Yeah.
that's the way I feel about this. I think it's a
Wasn't he
combination.
supposed to
of
be
everything.
a D-back coach last year?
Yeah, he
Wasn't
was a D-back coach last year. So I don't know why he's not using any, any pre-snap disguise, which is killing me. And New England used a lot of pre-snap disguise when they played him last week. And I think that's why Herbert was confused most of the time. But
Yeah,
sometimes you feel like you want to get in Gannon's head and just ask, just say, well, all right, why did I just do that? Why am I constantly playing this soft cover 1, cover 2 defense where it's just zone looks with no pre-snap disguise?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right too, Armin, because really it doesn't, I don't understand what he's doing. And I don't really think anybody understands what he's doing, because it's almost like he doesn't know his own personnel. Like if his team isn't getting pressure, the front line's not getting pressure, and you're not blitzing anybody, but then again, on the contrary, you have your safeties and your corners so far deep, you're giving up these little, easy plays right over the middle of the field, or quick passes. Like, we can't stop it. That's why the quarterbacks have such great, percentages, because we're giving them these plays.
No, I agree.
Every quarterback we play looks like a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, you're right. Now let's welcome Jimmy, the other big V, to the program. And Jimmy, I'll just go right to you here. Let's go to the offense real quick, and let's talk about Hurts. Do you think maybe he's turned the corner a little bit as this team's quarterback?
I still don't think he's their quarterback. I'm a non-believer in him. He did look a little better this week, but I'm still not a believer in him. I just don't think he's the guy. I think the coach pretty much told you yesterday that he's not his guy when he was asked the question.
I'll just respond to that. I've been wrong on this program probably 95% of the time, and I'm willing to admit that. But I think that Hurts still is going to be the answer with this team. Vahe, you were at the game. You were there. I mean, his second half, it just seemed like all the fans were pulling for him in the second half, and it seemed like he was a one-man show. Tell me what your thoughts were and the reaction that the crowd was getting down there.
He was one of the few players who was playing with heart. Man, he came into play and he was giving everything he got. And maybe he's not a superstar to be, but under the right coaching, he could be a very successful quarterback. And the fact that basically he got heart and he's willing to give everything he got. And for me, that's a plus. I think it's all, to be honest with you, I think Sirianni, he coached a good game. He balanced running with the passing. And but the thing is that also he can do a better job of coaching Hurts to be a better player. And I don't think they're doing that. And I said this before in the previous podcast, that the coach's job is to put the players in a position for them to succeed. And I don't think neither coaches, whether Sirianni or the defensive coordinator, they're doing a good job of doing that. Obviously not. And that's on them. Look at Belichick. He has, the kid from Alabama, and he's going to be a stud because he's really coaching the right way. I don't see that. I don't, with the Eagles.
And how many times Belichick grabbed guys off the street and made them look like star players?
Yeah, that's
Literally
true.
picking guys off the way. I don't think Hurts is a bad guy. I just don't think the Eagles believe in him. And I think the Eagles want to go get that, that sexy quarterback, that big name.
Oh,
But
He's not there.
Will's got a
week,
good theory. Will's got a
Mel
good theory.
Kiper- Mel Kiper was talking about this kid, Malik something from, Liberty. He said he's going to be like a
He got shut out last week.
Last week got shut up. So much for that stud coming out of college. It's like, seriously? And then also the Eagles, they picked this kid in the second round, right? And in the process, they pissed off Carson Wentz. So what is the game plan? If this is not your guy, so how are you going about doing this business? You pissed off your franchise quarterback. He leaves, right? And suddenly he's looking good with the Colts. You saying, oh, well, this guy is not my guy. What is this, like a lab experiment? Every week you try to be different?
No,
That's why
I
someone's got
agree.
to pay the price. Someone's got to pay the price for this. And we
Yeah,
all know
we're
who
paying
that
the
is.
price. We're paying the price.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
I'm
are
surprised.
paid exactly.
You know,
Well-
when they traded Ertz, right? They said there's this guy Tyree Johnson. He's going to be stud.
Oh, the tight end.
Tight end. He's 6'7" or 6'8", whatever. He didn't catch anything last Sunday. He's
No,
supposed
but they used a lot of 13 personnel and he was in there. And one thing I will say from when I watched this game 2 times on Game Pass, I think that Sirianni runs about maybe 5 or 6 of the same plays over and over and over again. And he was constantly running at 13 personnel, and he would run Howard up the middle a lot of times, or slightly to the left, or, off the, I guess it's the 3 technique.
So I was looking at the stats last week, right? So we had Devonta Smith had few catches, right? Then you have Dallas Goedert has few catches, and Rigger had the 1 catch going backwards, and there was who else? I mean,
Quez Watkins had 1 or 2, I think.
1 or
But-
2, and that's
yeah.
it, right?
But 98, now let's talk about that. Like, let's just discuss some of Hurts's flaws real quick. One of the flaws is that it seems like he's always going to the same guys. And I know that a good defensive team with a good scheme is probably going to eliminate those guys. So right now, wide receiver number 1 and number 2 are Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert. Let's discuss. Do you think the problem is that Hurts is going too much to these guys and just looking to them all the time and not confident with the other guys, or the other guys just are a little bit of an issue? And we're obviously talking about Rigger and Watkins here.
I think the plays are designed for Smith and Goddard, because I'm still seeing Hurts stare at his receiver the whole way, and then he's really successful when he scrambles out to the right, and he can actually throw on the run to the right. Anytime the defense forces him to the left, it's a disaster. Him trying to throw, running to the left, if he just throws it way out of bounds or he's just really inaccurate. But he does do a lot on the ground with his legs. But I mean, to me, that's not going to be a quarterback that's going to be able to take you far in the playoffs.
No,
One
I
thing that
agree.
basically he plays scared too. The thing is that he doesn't let the things to calm down and wait until things develop. He gets a snap, couple of seconds. If it doesn't happen, he starts running. He doesn't let things to settle down and see what's going to happen.
But hopefully he'll get a little bit better in time. But I
Is it
got to
because
tell
of
you,
a
he
rookie?
is.
Okay,
But-
is a lot of it coaching too? Do you think a good coach can,
Yeah.
is lots coaching, I think, too.
Absolutely. I think it's a combination of the two. But I mean, you see the same things. I can see his flaws. He stares down his first receiver. He goes to the same receivers all the time. When he takes off and runs, it's normally to the right. But I'll tell you, he was throwing to the middle of the field a little bit more this week. His second half was flawless, almost running and throwing the football. So I don't know. I still am feeling like there's a really good chance that he could be something here. Now let's stay on the offense real quick. And Vahe, I'll bring it up to you first, and then we'll bring it around to the group here. They ran the ball 39 times. Jordan Howard is still a practice squad guy. And we talked last week about maybe putting him up on the roster, which I think is going to be a no-brainer eventually. And they're going to go with four running backs. Do you see him possibly, even when Sanders gets back, as Howard being running back number 1 on this team?
Could be, yeah. They need his type of a running back. You need that 3-4 yards regardless, just to get things moving. And coming back to the issue of the offense, right? And I always compare it to Belichick. Belichick made a selection with Matt Jones, right? And he's making every effort for the kid to succeed. I don't see it in Philadelphia. I see basically throwing Hurts to the in the ocean and see if he can swim or not. They're not making any considered effort to develop the kid to become a viable franchise quarterback. And that's the difference between the Eagles and the Patriots. But coming back to the issue, I think Sirianni made a right move last week and also this week by adding running attack to the game to open up and to make Hurts' life a little bit easier. And I was saying from the beginning, I don't understand why they don't have a big stud running back like Howard on the lineup just to alleviate the pressure from Hurst because he's a young guy.
I totally agree with you too, Vahe. And Sirianni's actually, he's shown me a lot the last 2 weeks that he's able to adjust, and he's progressing as a coach, and that's good to see. I'm curious to see how this week's going to go because Denver's got a top 6 rushing defense, and you saw what they did to Dallas. I don't think they're as good as how they played this past week, but it's going to be real interesting to see what type of game plan Sirianni puts together to try to, put his guys in the best place to succeed. Because running the ball as much as we are, which is great, I don't think we can do it against Denver.
Well,
Yeah,
we're gonna go into that game in a little bit. But let's just stay on this game real quick. And, obviously I think the biggest frustrating thing for these Eagles fans was the 6-minute drive at the end of the game by the Chargers. Like when they got the ball, I think to a man, I would say that 95% of the people in that stadium and watching the game were saying, all right, Hurts is not going to get the ball back and they're going to lose, which they did. Let's break this down a little bit. They converted, I think.
While
Go
we're
ahead.
talking about this game, I'm looking at the line. It's only 2.5 points.
Yeah, for the game.
what's up with
Well,
that?
there's a reason. We're going to get into that. The game coming up you're talking about.
Yeah,
We're going to talk about that in a minute, and I'll tell you why it's only a few points. But let's just focus on that last drive real quick. They converted 2 4th downs. It seems like it was obvious that Herbert was able to just pick apart the defense. And for some reason, it just seemed like that the cornerbacks were way off the line of scrimmage and just letting them get these. It just seemed like it was almost like pitch and catch. That's all it was. I know when Slay came out and McPherson came in, McPherson looks like he's going to be a good defensive back, but he was playing pretty far back. They just are not playing any press corner, and I don't understand it. I don't know. Are they not playing press corner because he has no faith in his pass rush? It always comes back to the pass rush, and they're the ones that are making the big money on this team. So let's break down the last 6 minutes of the game. Did you guys see it the same way I did? When it was just pitch and catch, a run. They were running the ball a lot better in the 4th quarter than they did the rest of the game. The run defense was pretty good, except for the 4th quarter. But I think the run really opened up for the pass even more. So I don't know what you guys think about the last 6 minutes of the game.
If you didn't know the score of the game, you would think the way the defense was playing, it was a prevent defense, as if they're trying to end the game before they score a touchdown, because that's the feeling you get. But obviously it wasn't the case. And it was like really very frustrating. It was like a slow death. You knew what was going to happen, but you were hoping for something different, and it didn't.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
It was just frustrating knowing the whole time as the clock's ticking that the Chargers are going to just try to keep running the ball right down our throats. And we still have corners and safeties playing so far off the line of scrimmage. And it's just, I just don't understand some of Gannon's logic. Like, is he telling the players what they're supposed to do, or are the players just doing their own thing? It just doesn't make any sense. Even if you're in the game, you kind of should just know the situation and what the offense is trying to do. And it just didn't look like we were making any effort to adjust.
I think the Chargers showed Hurts a lot of respect too. They didn't want him to get the ball back in his hands.
That's a great point. That's
one of the things I took out. That's one of the things I took out of it.
Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
I
know
agree.
for 6-7, but they went for it on 4th and 1. I mean, they
Is that amazing? Instead of going for but they didn't have confidence in that field goal kicker because
I give that too. And I
he
don't
was
think
on,
they wanted
what was
Hurts
he
to-
at, the Washington football team, and he got cut because he was missing a lot of field goals or extra
something
points.
like that. Right.
Yeah.
But they didn't. That's how I took it. And it was like a slow death. You're 100% right.
Yeah, that's a
But
great way to
with
put
6
it. Jimmy.
minutes, I was like, they're not getting the ball back.
Yeah, that is a great way to put it. That's exactly what happened. But it was almost like it was a complete repeat of the Tampa Bay game in the last 5 or 6 minutes of the game. So he has to make changes. And, I don't understand it. He had all the time in the world to look at the blueprint of what the Ravens did to the Chargers and the way that Belichick coached against the Chargers, and he did none of that. So there's no pre-snap disguise. There's no press coverage. There's no stunning. But, sometimes I wonder, is he doing what he's doing because now he has no faith in his pass rush? Because everything revolves around the pass rush, and they're not getting it right now. And it just seems like, how can I put this? It just seems like the completions, the intermediate routes are the completions are the easiest caught that I have seen in many years. I think it's the last 4 games. There have been 28 incompletions against the Eagles. 28. So that averages what? How many a game? 7 a game? I mean, that's ridiculous. So, something has to change, and hopefully before the end of the year, he gets to see that. So, yeah, I had the same feeling.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Armin, so yeah, I see what you're saying too. And if Gannon doesn't have faith in his defensive line, you'd think like they would try to do things to help them. So that they can try stunning or blitzing. They can even try pressing coverage just so the ball's not out of the quarterback's hand as fast. There's plenty of things that you can do to kind of help your defensive line if they're struggling. Throw the receivers off the routes a little bit just to have the quarterback hold the ball just for a little longer. And they're not even doing that. So if he doesn't trust his defensive line, I'm not seeing him make any adjustments to really help them either.
Maybe it's the other way around. The players don't trust the coach. I mean, they keep coming out more and more players keep coming out every week saying, questioning the coach.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you know what? It seems to be, but it seems to be the players that aren't producing that are saying that.
Well, Hargrave said it.
Well, he said it, but I mean, like he had Cox say it. Cox has no right to even talk because he hasn't done a damn thing. So I think a guy that might be a captain, a guy that's a leader, he should be the one saying it, not a guy that's just falling on his face and not doing anything. You guys know how I feel about Cox. I think he's a waste. I think it's a waste right now, and he's killing the Eagles, and he's not. He's stealing money. But let's go to this week's game with Denver. I watched this game twice. I got mixed feelings about how this game went. I think, first of all, I think the biggest problem with Dallas was Mike McCarthy did not have this team up to play. He was probably getting his daily massages every day and not worrying about getting the team prepped to play this game. I think they just went through the motions. I'll bet that's what happened. But in all fairness, there were a lot of plays that turned this game around. I mean, there were a lot of touchdowns that Dallas could have had that they missed on. There was a few calls that were very, very questionable. They were definitely outplayed. Vic Fangio, the coach of Denver, had a really good defensive game plan. From what I saw, I noticed that their front 7 is extremely aggressive, especially against the run, and they played really good. Now I'm gonna pose an answer real quick to Vahe's point about it's only 2 points, even though the game's out in Denver. Denver is 5-4, by the way. Part of the reason is because 3 of their starting offensive linemen may be out for this game. 3. They had multiple guys that were hurt in that game. So their running attack, which was very good against Dallas, may not be the same for this game because they're missing guys. Last
Would it
week,
matter with the Eagles defense?
well, I don't know, but if they have, but they did have a makeshift offensive line in parts of the second half of that game to beat Dallas. So, but they have a 2-headed monster running attack all of a sudden with Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams, the rookie out of North Carolina. And now that seems to be, like they're balancing their offense. And Teddy Bridgewater is a very, very good game manager. He doesn't make mistakes. He's not that great dual threat franchise quarterback, but he's more than capable of doing the job. So let's just run around a horn here. Let's talk about the high altitude first. Will Denver's high altitude alter the Eagles' chances for an upset Sunday even more, do do you guys think?
Absolutely, I think that's one of the, yeah, that's, I mean, anytime you go into Mile High, it's, it's a big adjustment, they say. That's a huge home field advantage for the Broncos, especially, with the state of the Eagles right now. It's not like we're a juggernaut team. We question our conditioning here. I can only imagine what it could be like up there.
Just look at the fourth quarter last week. Our defense looked exhausted.
Yeah.
I mean, that altitude out there it's a real thing.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I was watching that early game because it was on TV. And even though it was in Dallas, I mean, Denver looked really, really good. And then now I was really shocked that the line is only 2.5. So I don't know. The bookies, they know something that we don't know, because the thing is that if they beat Dallas in Dallas soundly, what's the chances of Eagles beating them in Denver? But there must be something that we're not seeing it. Obviously, the bookies, they know that we don't know. So I don't know.
I think a lot of
2.5
it's,
points. If I had to guess, there was no way I would have guessed 2.5 points.
it's hard to say, but I mean, if you look at their receivers, they got Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton. I mean, both of them can really run. So I don't know if Gannon's going to play that deep cover too, and I don't think he's going to. But neither one of them are like superstar wide receivers, or relatively young.
What was the score the other day? Didn't they score like 40 points or something?
It was 30-16, and really the 16 points was, I think it was 30 to
That game-
nothing at one
It was
time.
30 nothing
That
at
came
one
really
point.
late.
Yeah, but I mean, Dallas had a lot of opportunities that they
points.
just blew. I mean, they just blew a lot of opportunities. But to be honest with you, Denver could have scored even more points than the 30 that they had. But the running attack was really good in the second half of that game. So that's what worries me. What worries me here is that Mile High State, I don't know what the name of the stadium is now. It's not Mile High anymore, but it's a high altitude. Eagles are going to be sucking wind like they normally do. They suck wind when it's regular altitude. And if it's a close game, or if Denver's up by a little bit, they're going to just pound the ball. That's my feeling.
So Armand, do you think it's the offensive line? It's the because of that the line is so low. The line.
Well, I think so. As of right now, they got Garrett Bowles, their left tackle, who's definitely out. Bobby Massey and Graham Glasgow, who came out of the game and were hurt, are questionable right now. But there's a good possibility they may not play. So if they don't have them, I don't know how that's going to affect both their passing and their running offense. So that's a very good question. We don't know at this point, but this could be that trap game for Denver, where the Eagles are going to be, trying to be flying high. They're going to go out there with nothing to lose and just going all out. And now remember, Denver won their first 3 games. They were 3-0, but they played trash their first 3 games. I think it was the Jets, the Giants, and the Jaguars, the first 3. And then they lost 4 in a row, and then they won last week. So they're 5-4, but they were always like, their defense was the thing that was really good. And their head coach is a defensive coach. And Vic Fangio, who is a Pennsylvania guy, by the way, he's a schemer. He's a true defensive coordinator / schemer, something the Eagles don't have. Eagles don't have a schemer on offense or defense right now. So I think right now, if you look at coaching, I mean, you got to give one up to coaching, because Fangio has been in the NFL for many, many years. So who knows? No one knows who's going to win the game. But I would say that I can see Denver saying to themselves, this is not going to be a trap game. We are not going to lose this football game. That's just the way that I feel.
I think they're fired up too, Denver, that they traded Von Miller, kind of fired everyone up. They were quitting on the season, and they're right in the race still in that division. They're only a game of that.
I think, you know what, Jim? I think every team in that division has a winning record, and believe it or not, I think Denver's in last place
at
with
5-4.
5-4.
Kansas City. And I think they're only a game out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's right. And they all have a winning record. So that's a very,
seemed like Denver was playing with more swag on Sunday because of the Miller trade.
Yeah, and apparently I think that Miller getting traded was probably a good thing for them because it seems like they really banded together defensively.
Yeah,
What I noticed when I watched that game was that he had their linebackers almost up in the line of scrimmage because he wanted to take away Dallas's run. But on the other hand, Dak Prescott wasn't 100%. So, and he did get, he was run down a few times, but there were receivers that missed, that actually dropped passes also. So, it could have gone either way. I think if they were to play again, I think Dallas could beat them. I still think Dallas is a better team than Denver. Denver was just more prepared to play them.
yeah.
And it was a typical Mike McCarthy / trap football game. So that's typical of McCarthy.
Why Dallas isn't going to win anything because of the coach.
It's very possible. All
I
right.
think he was mesmerized because Roger Staubach stopped by.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a real good point. All right, we're going to go with the predictions. I already put the bag on my head because you guys already know what I predicted. So forget me. Okay, but we're going to go into what the predictions were for this past week. Vahe went with the Eagles 24-21. So you're out of there.
That would have been the score if it wasn't for the defense.
Yeah, I know. Well, you're a loser, so let's throw you out.
Doesn't matter.
Will picked the Chargers 28-17. Jimmy picked the Chargers 31-24. And it's funny because I thought they were going to score a touchdown, and I'm saying, Jimmy's going to get this on the money here.
It's funny. I'm watching the game with my boys. And I'm like, I told my uncle the Chargers are going to win 30-24.
Yeah.
But,
Well, it's funny. Vahe stayed with Vahe's last two scores were the Eagles 24-21, both games. So I think he just said, I'm not changing anything. I'm just going to stay the way it was. But I would say that without doubt that Jimmy's the winner. Now, Jimmy has 3 wins, right? Because he won the first 2 weeks and the rest of us have 1. So, Jimmy, you're well ahead. And I got a thought for you here.
I wish my bets
Will
were
has 2. Will, you don't have 2. I thought Will has 2, right?
No, it's no.
One.
Will has 1. The rest of us have 1 win. Jimmy has 3.
Wow.
My suggestion on the wins, I was thinking about this the other day. What if you give an extra point to a guy that gets to score right on the money?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to get
That's pretty good if someone can do that.
Yeah, from now on, if the guy gets it right on the money, he gets an extra point. So right now, Jimmy's 3, everybody else is 1. And for anyone that's out there that's listening, all 2 people that subscribe to us, the winner gets a bag of French fries from McDonald's, which will be probably stale French fries, which will be available at the end of the season. Any last minute thoughts?
What's our predictions?
Well, you know what? Yeah, let's go with the predictions first, and we're going to start with Jimmy.
Me?
Yep.
You're the
I'm
winner.
going to go with Denver 27, Eagles 14.
Wow.
Okay.
They never play high. They never play well in Denver. I just,
Well,
probably
Have they ever won? Have the Eagles ever won in Denver?
I remember them going out there getting smoked by Peyton.
I remember they
6
got
years
killed.
ago.
Yeah.
And then I remember being a kid and them getting smoked by John Elway.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I think this game, it's winnable, but I think the way Teddy Bridgewater is, and he's really that conservative quarterback that's going to take what the defense gives him. And the Eagles are giving up a whole lot of completions, and Melvin Gordon is pretty dangerous out of the backfield, so I don't really know who's going to cover him. I got Denver winning 21-17.
all right. Now, Vahe, before I ask you your prediction, why, since week 2, have the children in this podcast have no faith in this ball club? It's 7 weeks of predicting losers. I want to
No
know.
loyalty. No loyalty. That's what it is.
I had no faith in this team coming into the
It's
year.
just ridiculous. Now, Vahe, since I'm just thinking, should I put you down for 24-21 Eagles?
No, 27-21 Eagles.
21 Eagles. Okay.
Well, to be honest with you, the thing is that you're right. I mean, probably the common sense says you should pick the Denver Broncos, right? But the line tells me something. And there's people who make the lines, they'll make it for a living. I mean, their livelihood depends on it. The fact that it's only 2.5 points, and everything says it's against the Eagles. And for some reason, the line is telling you it's an Eagles line. It's not even at 3 points. So I'm going to go with the Eagles because even though, I don't think how they're going to win it, but I think the line's telling me they're going to win.
But you only have one win in 7 tries, so I just
Yes.
wanted to throw that in there.
27-21 Eagles.
Okay. I'm going to say that I think that the Eagles would have a real good chance of winning this game if the game was held maybe in Indianapolis, but this game is in Denver. And I can see if Denver has a lead in the fourth quarter and the defense is on the field, they're not going to leave the field and they're going to be sucking wind big time, which I've seen them do in high altitude games. I think it's going to be close. I'm going to go with 24-21 Denver on this game. So we got some really close scores here. So it goes both ways. But anyway, any last minute thoughts before we close this out?
Vahe, do you want me to get you a bag too for next week?
No, I'm good. No, the reason I'm going with the Eagles because I think Sirianni realized basically that the running game has to complement the passing. And he has been doing it for the last 2 weeks. And last week's Sunday's game, I mean, he coached a good game. And if it wasn't for the defense really completely out of the league, they would have won that game. All they needed is a drive towards the end. They would have won that game. So I believe that basically is that somehow Sirianni started to understand Hurts's strength and weaknesses, and he's trying to help him with the running attack. That's why I think that basically they have a chance of winning, and they're going to win the game.
I just
I felt bad
think
for Sirianni after that game. He was emotional. He was fired up for that game.
It was.
I felt bad for him. Then that clown throws the flowers at him at the end of the
Yeah,
game.
that was pretty
I
bad.
like how he
Hopefully they
came out
catch
though
that
and
guy.
stared at. I like how Sirianni came out of the tunnel and kind
I
of.
thought that was Vahe.
There.
I was on the other side. My fault on the other side.
Why? You didn't
He
throw
was
the
waiting
flower,
for-
did you?
Nah.
I just want to make sure, but that was pretty sad. I mean, that was an ugly thing. And I really like Sirianni as a coach. You know what? I'm going to throw this out there. I really had big time faith in the coaching staff. I think they just don't have the talent right now. And I always feel like talent.
Oh, you think Gallen's doing a good job?
No. I always felt like talent trumps scheme all the time. Talent, if you had the talent, that's like more than half the battle. And they just don't have the talent in most positions. But what I'm finding out is that, and I heard this on Inside the Birds podcast the other day with Jeff Mosher. He had mentioned that they neither coaches really, or any of the three coaches, the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator, and the head coach, none of them are schemers. And some teams have schemers. This team needs a schemer, and maybe from their failings of this year, they can become a schemer. So my hope is that these guys possibly can learn from this entire year and become schemers in the long run.
I think you're right. Talent does outweigh scheme. Like for instance, the Cowboys, they put Michael Parsons at defensive end, and he's got all the talent in the world, and just tell him to go rush the quarterback.
He did have a hell of a game too.
But sometimes scheme could actually work against you. Like if your scheme is basically helping out the offense, you're not helping your players. Talent won't outweigh scheme if the scheme is bad enough that it's putting your players out of position.
Yeah, I agree 100%. All right, guys. So with that, I guess we'll close it out, and hopefully I won't have to wear a bag next week.
You're on our side. You're good. You're on our side.
Maybe I had to wear it back.
I got, hey, real quick. We're what? Two things. We're what? This Saturday, we're 2 weeks away from Will's wedding.
Oh,
2 weeks
yeah.
away. And wait a minute, 2 weeks away from the 75% for Wentz. So what's more important here?
Will, don't answer it.
So, now listen, I'm gonna have the NFL thing on my phone right before that wedding outside. So in fact, I'm gonna go to the Indy Colts news right before that wedding because I always announce what the starters are. So my worry is that if Wentz has two real bad games and they lose, and the Titans win two and and the Indy's out of it.
I can see Armin walking Gina down the island, holding his cell phone on the other hand, watching the game.
Yeah, it's the wrong girl. It's
He's
the
going to
other
be
daughter
watching
that's married.
football, and I'm going to be throwing up in the bathroom.
All right, with that, we'll close it out. Thanks so much for the 2 subscribers that probably watch us on another edition of Flying High with the Birds. This is the Big V. Thank you again.
See you guys.
See you guys later. All right, good job.
Yeah.